Commander Vox Perillion of the Galactic Unity fleet lounged in his command chair, tapping his 7 fingers idly against the armrest. The neural compliance wave generator had just been engaged, and now came the dullest part of conquest, waiting. "Status report, Lieutenant Mira," he asked, his voice carrying the weary tone of someone long accustomed to routine subjugations. Lieutenant Mira Tuzak, a lean, blue-skinned Ardanian whose forearms and mood-shifting eyes currently glowed a steady teal of calm, glanced up from her console. "Wave distribution at 87%, Commander. Full planetary coverage expected shortly." 7 minutes. "Wonderful," Vox replied with a long theatrical sigh. "Another glorious day in the expansion of Unity consciousness. I can hardly contain my excitement." The bridge crew chuckled softly. Commander Perillion's sarcasm was nearly as renowned as his conquests. Still, no one could argue with results. 37 species brought into the Unity fold in just 12 cycles, a record no other commander had even approached. Vox rose from his command chair and strolled toward the wide viewport, his gaze settling on the swirling blue-green orb below. Terra, the natives called it. Earth, in their most common tongue. The third rock from an utterly ordinary yellow. Star, spinning quietly in the spiral arm of an entirely average galaxy. "Do we have visual confirmation of the wave effects yet?" Vox asked, not even bothering to turn from the viewport. Chief Science Officer Drell Kupar, a reptilian Vexian with shimmering iridescent scales and a single cybernetic eye, adjusted his console with practiced precision. "Coming through now, Commander. Displaying planet-wide reception nodes." The main view screen shimmered to life, filling with a global map as thousands of crimson dots began to blossom across it. Each mark represented a population center succumbing to the neural compliance wave. "Look at them go," Vox murmured, almost amused. "Like little lights on a festival tree. So predictable. So dull." The truth was, Commander Vox Perillion was growing weary of these conquests. The Unity had perfected subjugation so thoroughly that it had become nothing more than routine. The neurocompliance technology, first conceived nearly 400 cycles ago, had since been refined to the point of inevitability. The pattern never changed. Deploy orbital wave generators, trigger the compliance field, wait for the natives' nervous systems to fold under its influence, then descend to inform them of their new honor. One mind, one purpose, expansion without end. Commander Vox was drifting in his thoughts when Lieutenant Mira's voice cut in, calm but edged with urgency. "Commander, we are detecting anomalies." Vox's posture shifted instantly, his focus snapping razor-sharp. "Anomalies?" he repeated, suddenly alert, was no longer the dull routine he had grown accustomed to. This was different. This was intriguing. "Explain," Vox commanded, sliding back into his chair with sudden vigor. "Certain population. Centers are showing no measurable response to the neural wave," Mira reported, her eyes shifting from teal to a baffled yellow. "Approximately 12% of the planetary population appears resistant." "Impossible," hissed Chief Science Officer Drell, his scales rippling in agitation. "The wave is calibrated precisely to their neurological signatures. We've been studying their species for 3 full cycles." Vox leaned forward, a slow grin curling across his face. "Well, well," he murmured. "It seems our neural wave deployment, humans have a surprise for us after all this day just got considerably less dull. Captain Zorn, Telk Vox's second-in-command, and a bulky 4-legged Chronosin with metallic skin stomped forward. Should we increase the wave intensity, Commander?" "No," Vox replied, raising a hand. "First, let's understand what we are dealing with. Drill analysis." The science officer worked his console, frantically his cybernetic eye whirring as it processed data. "Most peculiar, Commander, the resistant individuals show no common geographical distribution. They appear. Random weight. He paused, head tilting. There is one correlation. The resistant individuals all show a unique neurochemical signature, a slight variation in their brain structure that we hadn't accounted for. How did we miss this? Vox demanded, though. His tone conveyed more curiosity than anger, and the variation is subtle. Drell explained, and it appears in only a minority of the population. Our initial surveys focused on the dominant neurological pattern. Bach stood again, pacing the bridge. This was fascinating. In 400 cycles, the Unity had never encountered a species with natural resistance to the compliance wave, not even partial resistance options. He asked, looking around at his bridge crew. We could deploy ground forces to manually subdue the resistant population. Captain Zorn suggested, always eager for a more direct approach and risk damage to potential Unity assets. I think not. Vox dismissed. Remember the Unity code. All sentient life is to be preserved and incorporated. We could isolate the resistant individuals, Mira offered. Maintain them while we process the compliant majority. Vox considered this, perhaps, but I'm more interested in understanding this resistance. It could be valuable. A sudden alert blared across the bridge. The security chief, a gaseous entity, named Plex, who resided in a containment suit, floated forward. Rander, we are detecting unauthorized transmissions from the surface. The resistant humans are communicating with each other. They are organizing. Vox couldn't help but laugh. Organizing against us. How charmingly primitive. Do not underestimate them. Commander warned Drell, our studies show they have a remarkable capacity for adaptation. And yes, Box interrupted with a wave of his hand. Every species has its unique qualities. That's what makes the Unity stronger with each edition. But let's be realistic. They are preftal primitives with projectile weapons and nuclear fishing. We have a fleet of quantum-shifted battlecruisers and the collective knowledge of 7,000 subjugated worlds still. Commander Mira persisted, her eyes now a concerned purple. If they can resist the neural wave, who knows what else they might be capable of? Vox sighed dramatically. Fine, your concerns are noted. Plex, monitor these transmissions. Drill, I want a comprehensive analysis of the resistant humans. Discovery of human resistance. What makes them different? Can we modify the wave to affect them? Mira, prepare a first contact team. If we can't control them, perhaps we can reason with them. And if reasoning fails? Captain Zorn asked. Flexing his metallic appendages, Vox gave him a stern look. Then we adapt. Captain Unity always adapts. He turned back to the viewport, studying the planet below with renewed interest. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. I would hate to damage such a promising addition to our collective 3 hours later. Box found himself in the ship's laboratory, staring at holographic representations of human brain scans. The resistant humans' brains glowed with unusual activity patterns that Drell was struggling to explain. It's as if the science officer began, then stopped, clearly frustrated, as if what Vox prompted, as if their minds are naturally chaotic. Drell finally said, those species' thought patterns follow predictable pathways. That's why. The neural wave works. It simply guides those pathways toward Unity consciousness. But these humans, the resistant ones, their thought patterns are like trying to hurt vapor cats. Vox suggested with a smirk. Precisely. Drell exclaimed, their neural pathways reconfigure constantly. The wave can't establish a foothold because the target keeps moving. Vox rubbed his chin, thoughtfully, fascinating. And you say this occurs in 12% of their population. 8% to be precise. Drill confirmed. We are calling them deviants for classification purposes. EM.2%. Fully compliant, the neural wave has established complete control. They are already beginning to form local Unity nodes. Vox nodded. This was standard procedure. Once under the influence of the wave, a species would naturally begin to organize into hierarchical nodes, preparing for full integration into the Unity consciousness. And what are our deviants doing? He asked. Plex's voice came through the labs. Communication system. They are hiding, Commander, going underground, and they are taking weapons with them. Weapons? Vox laughed. What do they think they are going to do with those primitive tools against us? Unknown, Commander Plex replied. But they appear to be forming resistance cells, and they are rescuing other humans from the Unity nodes. This caught Vox's attention. Rescuing explained they are physically removing compliant humans from Unity influence. In some cases, this appears to be disrupting the compliance effect. Ox and Drill exchanged surprised looks. That's not possible, Drell said, once established. The neural wave connection cannot be broken without our specific command codes. Apparently, Vox said, slowly, no one informed the humans of that fact. Mira's voice joined the conversation. Commander, we have a situation in the region they call North America. A group of deviants has attacked a Unity node and extracted approximately 50 compliant humans. They have taken them to a shielded location we cannot penetrate with our sensors. Vox felt a strange sensation he hadn't experienced in many cycles: uncertainty. This was not proceeding according to standard protocols. Prepare my shuttle, he commanded, and assemble a contact team. I believe it's time I met these deviants personally, Commander. Captain Zorn protested over the comm. That is not advisable. Let me send troops first to secure your concern. Is noted, Captain. Vox interrupted. But these humans intrigue me, and if they can indeed break our neural compliance, I need to understand how this could have implications for the entire Unity. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, surrounded by a squadron of defensive drones. Vox sat calmly in the command seat, reviewing the latest data on the human resistance. In the mere 6 hours since the neural wave had been activated, the deviants had organized with remarkable efficiency. They had established communication networks using primitive but effective methods that somehow evaded Unity detection. They had formed extraction teams to rescue compliant humans, and, most disturbing of all, they had already begun studying captured Unity technology. How resourceful, Vox muttered to himself. Perhaps too resourceful. The shuttle's pilot, a mechanical construct named Echo 7, announced their approach to the designated landing zone. It was a remote area in what the humans called Colorado, near a mountain complex where significant deviant activity had first contact. With Commander Vegabine, detected scanners showed 23 deviant humans waiting at the landing site. Reported Security Officer Taz, a burly Migradian with natural armor plating. They are armed with projectile weapons and what appear to be improvised explosive show. Quaint, Vox remarked. Ensure our shields are at maximum. I don't want any unfortunate accidents. As the shuttle touched down in a grassy clearing surrounded by tall coniferous trees, Vox adjusted his translator implant and checked his appearance in a reflective panel. First impressions were important even with soon-to-be subjugated species. Remember, he instructed his team of 5 specialists. We are here to observe and understand. The Unity seeks knowledge. Before control, the shuttle's door slid open, and Vox stepped out into the crisp mountain air. Before him stood a semicircle of humans, each pointing what he recognized as firearms. In his direction, they were a diverse group varying in size, coloration, and apparentage. Their expressions were uniformly hostile. Vox spread his 7-fingered hands in what his research indicated was a universal human gesture of peace. Greetings, deviants of Earth. I am Commander Vox Perillion of the Galactic Unity Fleet. I come to understand your unique resistance. To our invitation, a human stepped forward, female, approximately middle-aged by their standards, with short gray hair and intense eyes. She held her weapon with the confidence of someone who knew how to use it. We don't respond well to mind control, she said flatly. Never have. Never will. You can call us deviants if you want. We call ourselves free humans. Bach smiled, genuinely amused. Freedom. Such a primitive concept in the Unity. All are free from the burden of individual choice. All contribute to the greater consciousness. Another human snorted derisively. This one male, younger, with dark skin and asker across his cheek. Yeah, we have seen your greater consciousness turning our people into zombies. Not interested. Zombies, Vox queried his translator, struggling with the term mindless followers. The woman explained, "My name is Commander Laura Vega of what's left of the United States military, and this is my second in command, Major Jake Wilson. We speak for Earth's resistance mocks." Noted the parallel in their titles with interest, commander to commander. "Then how is it that you resist our neurocompliance wave?" Commander Vega Laura shrugged. "Some of us are just wired differently, neurodivergent. They used to call it ADHD, autism spectrum, certain types of bipolar disorder. Turns out those disorders are actually our species' insurance policy against aliens with mind control. Fascinating." Vox replied, genuinely intrigued. "Natural neurological variation as a defense mechanism. The Unity has never encountered this before." "Yeah, well, there's a lot about humans that's going to surprise you," Major Wilson said, "like how we have already figured out how to jam your mind control signal in localized areas." This statement sent a ripple of concern through Vox's team. Drell, who had accompanied him, stepped forward. "Impossible. You lack the technology, too." "We are quick studies," Laura interrupted, "and we have got nothing to lose. Your Unity has already taken most of our planet. What's left of us aren't going down without a fight." Vox studied them with new respect. Perhaps this assignment wasn't going to be boring after all. "I propose an exchange," he said carefully. "Information. You tell us how you have managed to disrupt our neural wave, and I will share knowledge about the Unity that might address your concerns." Laura laughed, a sharp, harsh sound counter-proposal. "You take your ships, your mind control, and your Unity, and leave our planet. Otherwise, we show you just how dangerous humans can be when we are backed into a corner." Vox felt a strange mixture of admiration and pity. They had no idea of the forces they were defying. The Unity had subjugated civilizations thousands of years more advanced than Earth. "I'm afraid that's not possible, Commander Vega," he said softly. "The Unity expansion is inevitable, but your species' unique qualities make you valuable. We don't wish to destroy you." "Then you are in for a hell of a surprise," Laura replied, her eyes narrowing, "because we have already started taking back what's ours." As if on cue, an explosion sounded in the distance. Vox turned to see a plume of smoke rising from beyond the tree-line. "What have you done?" he demanded, his usual sarcasm giving way to alarm. Laura smiled, cold and determined. "That would be the first of your mind control transmitters going offline. We have got teams hitting 6 more as we speak." But for the first time in many cycles, Commander Vox Perillion felt something he had almost forgotten. Dear return to the shuttle. Now Vox barked, abandoning all pretense of diplomatic calm. His team scrambled to obey as another explosion rocked the distance. Commander Laura Vega made no move to stop them. "We will give you 12 hours to begin evacuation procedures. After that, we stopped playing." Nice. Vox paused at the shuttle door, turning to face the human. "You have no concept of what you are challenging, Commander. It's the Unity encompasses 7,000 worlds. Your resistance is an inconvenience at best." The phantom infiltration. Laura's smile never wavered. "Maybe so, but we humans specialize in being inconvenient inside the shuttle." Vox's calm facade crumbled. "Contact the fleetful defensive protocols and get me a status report on those transmitters." The shuttle lifted off, accelerating through the atmosphere with emergency thrust. Drell was frantically working his portable console scales, shifting to an alarmed Crimson. "Commander, we have lost 7 neural wave transmitters. Coverage is down to 62%, and falling. The compliance effect is weakening in multiple regions." How Vox demanded, how could primitives disable our technology so quickly? Drell looked up, his cybernetic eye worrying us. "It processed data. They appear to have reverse-engineered our shield frequency modulations. The explosives they used were precisely calibrated to penetrate our defensive barriers in 6 hours. Vox was incredulous. "That's not possible." "Evidently," Drell replied dryly. The humans didn't receive that information either. Back on the command ship, chaos reigned. Captain Zorn was coordinating defensive measures, while Lieutenant Mira monitored the rapidly deteriorating situation. On the planet below, report, Vox commanded as he strode onto the bridge. Mira turned here, he's a stressed orange. It's spreading. Commander, the deviants are freeing. Compliant humans at an accelerating rate once removed from the neural field for approximately 40 minutes. The compliant humans begin to revert to their natural state, and then they join the resistance. Vox concluded, but how are they breaking the compliance so easily? The neural bond should be permanent. After initial exposure, Plex floated forward, containment suit pulsing with agitation. They are using crude but effective electromagnetic pulse devices, Commander. Applied directly to the base of the skull, it disrupts the neural pattern we established. Additionally, they have discovered that certain chemical compounds in their own medicines can accelerate the process box dropped into his command chair. Mind racing, they are adapting our technology against us, learning at an unprecedented rate. Despite the crisis, he couldn't help but feel a spark of admiration. Fascinating. Fascinating. Captain Zorn stomped forward, metallic legs clanging on the deck. Commander, with respect, we are losing control of the situation. I recommend immediate military intervention. One orbital strike on their primary resistance base would. No box cut him off. The Unity does not destroy potential assets. We adapt, we incorporate. We do not annihilate. Then what do you suggest? Zorn challenged, his patience clearly wearing thin. Vox leaned forward, fingers steepled. If they can reverse engineer our technology so quickly, perhaps we should give them something more challenging to focus on. 3 hours later, Vox addressed his assembled command staff in the strategy room. Holographic displays showed the rapidly changing situation. On Earth, red zones indicated areas where Unity control had been lost entirely. Yellow showed weakening compliance, only about 40% of the planet displayed. In green remained firmly under Unity influence. The situation is unprecedented, Vox admitted, but not unsalvageable. I have developed a 3-phase response. He gestured and the holographic display shifted to show a new device. Phase 1. We deploy the quantum entanglement disruptors. These will prevent the humans from using our own technology against us by creating localized fields where their reverse-engineered devices simply won't function. Won't that also disable our neural transmitters? Mira asked, temporarily. Yes, Vox acknowledged, but we will compensate with Phase 2. Another gesture, another display dispersal. While their attention is focused on the QES, we will release atmospheric nanites programmed to directly interface with compliant human neural patterns, maintaining our control without the need for transmitters. Captain Zorn nodded, approvingly. And Phase 3. Vox's expression hardened. We identify and isolate the gene. Guided by low-level emergency lighting that had survived the QED pulse, the silence was unnerving. Where were the humans? Their sensors had confirmed hundreds of life forms within the bunker. Just minutes ago, a commander, one of his guards, called out, "You should see this." Vox followed the guard into what appeared to be a command center. On a large screen, still somehow operational, was a message. "Looking for us. Check your ship." A cold dread washed over Vox. He activated his neural link to the command ship captain. Zorn's status report. Static answered him. The QED was interfering with communications, and he turned to his steam back to the shuttles now. As they raced back through the corridors, a human voice echoed over the facility's speaker system. Commander Laura. Vega's voice. Sorry to miss you. Commander Perillion, we figured you'd try to cut off our tech with some fancy alien device, so we decided to use your distraction to our advantage. While you were busy shutting down our bunker, we were boarding your command ship. Turns out those phantoms of yours had some very interesting transportation technology we borrowed. Vox's mind raced. It wasn't possible. The command ship had the most advanced security in the Unity fleet. No primitive species could possibly. He burst out of the bunker. Entrance to see his worst fears confirmed. The massive command ship above was now surrounded by strange electrical discharges, its quantum drive emitting an unstable glow. What have you done? He whispered. Laura's voice continued. Now, coming through his neural link directly, she had accessed the ship's communication system. "We have introduced your neural compliance wave generator to a little human ingenuity. Right now it's being reprogrammed to emit a very different kind of wave 1 that doesn't control minds but instead frees them." "You can't," Vox shouted. "You don't understand the technology. You will cause a quantum cascade failure." Actually came another voice, male and unfamiliar. "We understand it quite well, Dr. Marcus Lee, quantum physicist. Your compliance technology is impressive, but fundamentally flawed. It relies on suppressing neural pathways rather than truly integrating them. We are simply reversing the polarity, so to speak." Vox watched in horror as the command ship's hull began to glow with increasing intensity. "All Unity personnel, evacuate return to support vessels immediately," but it was too late. A brilliant pulse of energy erupted from the command ship, expanding in a visible wave that swept across the landscape. Vox felt the neural link to his crew shatter as the wave passed through him, and then silence. Vox stood disoriented as his combat suit powered down around him. His elite guards looked equally confused. The QES had gone dark. All Unity technology had been neutralized by whatever the humans had done. A rumbling sound drew his attention back to the bunker entrance. Her convoy of vehicles emerged, led by a rugged transport. With Commander Laura Vega standing in the open hatch, she jumped down and approached Vox, no weapon in hand, but flanked by armed soldiers. "Your fleet is disabled," she informed him calmly. "That pulse rewrote the quantum signatures of all Unity technology within Earth's orbit. Your ships are functional, but the neural compliance systems have been permanently deactivated, and your crews are quite confused about why they are here and what they are supposed to be doing." "Impossible," Vox, the choice and aftermath, murmured, but without conviction. He had underestimated these humans. At every turn, Laura's expression softened slightly. "Your Unity isn't evil, Commander, just misguided. You believe you are bringing harmony to the galaxy, but you are actually stripping away the very diversity that makes consciousness valuable." Dr. Marcus Lee stepped forward, a thin man with glasses and an excited expression. "Your technology is remarkable, truly, but your understanding of consciousness is flawed. Unity doesn't come from conformity. It comes from cooperative diversity." Vox looked around, at his disabled team, at the humans watching him with cautious but not hostile expressions. "What happens now? You cannot possibly hope to hold prisoners from the Unity." "We don't take prisoners," Laura replied. "We're offering you a choice. Leave our solar system and never return, or stay as individuals, not as extensions of your Unity, and learn what genuine cooperation between diverse minds can accomplish." Vox blinked in surprise. "You would welcome us after we attempted to subjugate your species, Major." Wilson joined the conversation. "We have had our share of would-be conquerors throughout human history. Some of our greatest allies started as our enemies. We are good at forgiveness. When it's earned." Vox felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Uncertainty, freedom, individual choice. The constant background hum of the Unity consciousness was silent in his mind for the first time since his incorporation. "And I do not know what I want," he admitted. Laura smiled. "That's the first step to genuine freedom, Commander. Take your time. The choice is yours." 6 months later, Vox Perillion stood on a hillside overlooking what humans called the Pacific Ocean. The sunset painted Thesky in colors that seemed more vivid than he remembered from any of the thousands of worlds he had visited. Still, getting used to being just Vox instead of Commander, asked Dr. Lee, who had become something of a friend during these strange months. "It is adjustment," Vox admitted, "but not any unpleasant one after the defeat of the Unity fleet." Nearly 40% of the alien crew had chosen to remain on Earth. Some, like Drell, had eagerly integrated into human scientific communities, sharing knowledge while carefully avoiding technologies that could be weaponized. Others, like Mira, had become cultural ambassadors, helping humans understand the wider galactic community. They would eventually join Captain Zorn, and the majority of the military personnel had chosen to return to Unity space with a warning. Arth was protected not by superior technology or military might, but by aneurological diversity that made humans immune to the Unity's primary method of expansion. The Unity will adapt. Vox had told Laura before Zorn's departure, "They always do. They may return with new methods." Laura had simply nodded, "And we will be ready." Humans are pretty good at adaptation, too. Now watching the sun sink below the horizon, Vox contemplated the strange path that had brought him here. He had come to subjugate a primitive species, and instead found himself liberated by them. The Unity believes that consciousness is perfected through uniformity. He said to Marcus that billions of minds thinking as one Vox's realization represent the pinnacle of evolution. "And what do you believe now, Marcus?" asked Vox, gestured toward the nearby town where humans and former Unity members moved about their evening activities. Lights were coming on in windows, music drifted up from somewhere, laughter. "I believe that the Unity has been expanding across the galaxy for 400 cycles, incorporating thousands of species, and yet has learned less about the true nature of consciousness than I have in 6 months among humans." Marcus smiled high praise from a former conqueror. "Not praise," Vox corrected an observation. "Your species, neurological diversity. The very thing that made you resistant to our control is perhaps the greatest evolutionary advantage I have ever encountered. You don't think alike, you don't process information the same way you argue, disagree, approach problems from wildly different perspectives, and in doing so, you find solutions that a unified consciousness would never discover. Diversity is strength." Marcus nodded. "It's an old human concept, but we forget it. Sometimes ourselves." Vox looked up at the stars. "Now becoming visible in the darkening sky, the Unity will return eventually, and they will have adapted. So will we." Marcus replied confidently, "And we will have help from those like you who chose to stay." Vox nodded, feeling something he had never experienced during his centuries of service to the Unity, not for uniformity, but for genuine connection between truly diverse minds. Perhaps, he said, thoughtfully, that is what Unity actually means, guided by low-level emergency lighting. That had survived the QED pulse. The silence was unnerving. Where were the humans? Their sensors had confirmed hundreds of life forms within the bunker just minutes ago. A commander, one of his guards, called out, "You should see this." Vox followed the guard into what appeared to be a command center on a large screen. Still somehow operational was a message. "Looking for us. Check your ship." A cold dread washed over Vox. He activated his neural link to the command ship captain. "Zorn's status report." Static answered him. The QED was interfering with communications, and he turned to his team back to the shuttles now. As they raced back through the corridors, a human voice echoed over the facility's speaker system. "Commander Laura." Vega's voice. "Sorry to miss you. Commander Perillion, we figured you'd try to cut off our tech with some fancy alien device, so we decided to use your distraction to our advantage. While you were busy shutting down our bunker, we were boarding your command ship. Turns out those phantoms of yours had some very interesting transportation technology we borrowed." Vox's mind raced. It wasn't possible. The command ship had the most advanced security in the Unity fleet no primitive species could possibly. He burst out of the bunker. Entrance to see his worst fears confirmed. The massive command ship above was now surrounded by strange electrical discharges, its quantum drive emitting an unstable glow. "What have you done?" he whispered. Laura's voice continued. Now coming through his neural link directly, she had accessed the ship's communication system. "We have introduced your neural compliance wave generator to a little human ingenuity. Right now it's being reprogrammed to emit a very different kind of wave, one that doesn't control minds but instead frees them." "You can't," Vox shouted. You don't understand the technology, you will cause a quantum cascade failure. Actually came another voicemail and unfamiliar wee undie.